Hello and welcome here to Talking FCB and welcome back to the channel here today for another video. And today I thought I'd do a video on Paco Alcacer, quite a lot like the video I did a few days ago actually on Andre Gomes and his struggles so far in his Barcelona career. Another player that came in the summer from Valencia as well was Paco Alcacer, and again when he did arrive he came with quite a bit of expectation and quite a lot of excitement, and I think both players are sort of quite similar in the way they're still adapting to the Barcelona way, and we're going to be taking a look at some of the reasons why. Again, like Andre Gomes, there is light at the end of the tunnel for Paco Alcacer, despite his struggles in front of goals so far in his Barcelona career. So let's kick right off with the summer and the amount that he came in for. 30 million euros that he signed for. Could rise to 32 million with add-ons and such as in with the modern transfers these days. So yeah, when Paco Alcacer came in, there was a lot of excitement. He came in from Valencia. He was quite a renowned La Liga striker. A lot of people had heard of him. But the problem is when he came into the club, I'm not really sure that a lot of people had, say, watched him a lot over his Valencia career and also his appearances for Spain. So I think some people were actually quite misguided when they realised what sort of forward Paco Alcacer was, because he was brought in subsequently to be there when Luis Suarez was unavailable. Like last season we relied on Munir, Sandro possibly the season before to step in when Luis Suarez was unavailable, and they didn't really do enough. They didn't really take enough chances in front of goal. Alcacer was supposed to be the man who we could really look to and sort of rely on when Suarez wasn't available. But the problem was a lot of people expected Alcacer to come in and sort of be the same sort of striker that Suarez is, when that was never really going to be the case. Alcacer is certainly not a type of forward, and I think that now people are starting to realise what sort of player that we signed, but they're still not quite understanding, exactly the kind of player that Paco Alcacer is. I think basically Alcacer is your traditional number 9 centre forward penalty box striker, and what I mean by that is he will thrive on good service and he will always be in the area in the right positions that you need him to be in. And the problem is at the moment is, number one, we're not quite giving him that excellent service. Like if you look at last night's game against Borussia Mönchengladbach, he wasn't really given a single chance in front of goal. He wasn't given one pass which saw him one-on-one with the goalkeeper, for example. Now, a lot of people straight away will say, well, at Barcelona, you've got to be able to create your own chances, and I agree with that. And that is where Paco Alcacer has got to adapt his game, improve his game, and take him to the next level. He has to start getting involved in a little bit of build-up. I'm not saying he's got to drop deep, he's not going to create, but I just mean in terms of his general hold-up play, popping it off to the midfielder, to the wingers. He's got to get involved a little bit more than he has done so far, but he doesn't want to get involved too much, because then you start veering away from the kind of player he is. You don't want to get involved too much in the build-up, because then he won't be there in the box when you really need him. And the thing is about Alcacer, he is a fantastic finisher. We've not seen the evidence of it so far, but he is. Over his career so far, it's been proven that when he gets that chance in front of goal, 9 times out of 10, he's going to tuck it away. And I think that could be really, really valuable for us, because we do have a problem in front of goal of being clinical. Not enough of our chances are taken. We saw in the Clasico, when we had the chances to kill the game off, we didn't do it. So when Alcacer gets that confidence, when he finally gets his first goal, he could actually become quite an asset to this club in terms of coming off the bench and pulling away chances, being clinical in front of goal, getting in the right positions, and especially in the time that he learns Barcelona's way of style a little bit more. Because I must say, the most difficult position at Barcelona, and without any question at all, is the striker. Because a lot of the time he isn't used, he doesn't get involved in enough of the play, like I say, but it's because we sort of exclude the striker. A lot of the time we play around the striker, we go out to the wing, we come back into midfield, we use the fullbacks. We don't always go to that striker. In some teams, the whole team is formed around that number 9 position, but at Barca, we played many, many years with a false 9, so we're not always including that striker in our build-up. So it is difficult sometimes to get involved in play, it's difficult to make the right runs. Suarez adapted very, very quickly, but even he started his Barcelona career quite slowly. He didn't score for a number of games for that fantastic overhead kick against Levante, which really got him going. I think Alcacer just needs something like that, something to get the fire burning, something to get that confidence back, because like I say, when he is a confident player in his previous clubs, he's been a very, very good finisher indeed. That's why I'm so surprised that in 10 appearances so far, he hasn't got off the mark. If you look at his old clubs, Valencia B at reserve level for Valencia, he had 42 goals in 64 games. Valencia, 93 games, 30 goals, so pretty much 1 goal every 3 matches for Valencia. And don't forget, he came through that Valencia system when he was very, very young, so there's a lot of appearances in there which are very, very young. And if you look at his Spanish record as well, which is something that definitely gives me hope, his Spanish record, 13 appearances for the Spanish full national side, 6 goals, so nearly 1 in 2 goals every international game, which is not bad. At international level, players do not score an awful lot of goals. That's a good record for Spain. And that in itself gives me hope, because Spain play a very, very similar style to Barcelona, and he is actually slotted in very well. And it's very, very similar when he goes away and plays with Spain. He doesn't get involved in a lot of the build-up, but the difference is at Spain, he does get that service. He has been given that service. And it might not be a case of Alcacer adapting to Barça. It's also at times got to be the players who are already with Barça adapting to the game of Paco Alcacer, because it's very, very different playing with Alcacer than it is when you play with Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, very, very much hustle and bustle. You know, he's always charging around the pitch. He's always closing down defenders. He's making runs in behind. He's making runs deep. He's going out to the flanks. Alcacer's much more sort of stable, and he's very, very sort of able to stay in that one position, whereas Suarez is very, very mobile and will get himself around the pitch in many different positions. Alcacer last night, though, in terms of that sort of stability in that position, he stayed very, very much in that number 9 role, and that helped last night. Arda Turan certainly profited from Alcacer sort of staying in that middle and occupying the 2 central defenders. He was sort of getting their awareness, he was distracting the centre defenders so that Arda Turan then could get the space to score his goals. So, you know, it's all good and well saying Alcacer doesn't score, Alcacer doesn't assist goals, but you've got to look at his overall game and his overall positioning to really understand the role that the striker at Barcelona brings. You're not always there to be the goal scorer. You're there sometimes to distract the defence. You look at the false 9 role, that was there as sort of a decoy. Fabregas played there at times as a decoy so that all other players could go and get beyond him to score the goals. So, although Alcacer didn't score last night, he did contribute to Arda Turan's goals in the way that he was positioning himself in the area. And like I say, once he gets off the mark, it's incredible what happens with strikers. It's all about confidence. You can see a striker one day when he hasn't scored for 10 games and he looks like he couldn't hit a barn door with a banana. But you see him on another day when he's on a goal scoring run and he looks like a Ballon d'Or winner. It's incredible what confidence can do, particularly for a striker. So just give him time to adapt to the Barcelona style. He's only 23 years old, he's got a lot of time left with us. And the thing is, what actually this reminds me of is when Zlatan Ibrahimovic was at Barça. And when Zlatan came, it was like this big striker that came in. Obviously, it was a much more expensive transfer fee. Zlatan was sort of in the prime of his career when he came. He was actually one of the star players, supposed to be, in our team. So this is very, very different. But in the style that they play, Zlatan was quite a sort of a player that wasn't so mobile up front. He didn't have an awful lot of pace. He didn't really want to get in behind a lot. He was quite happy to sort of stay between the centre-backs, didn't really get involved in the build-up that much. And it didn't really come for Zlatan. But at the same time, he still sort of 20-odd goals in his one season with us in La Liga. So if Alcacer could sort of contribute the same sort of goals, if not maybe half the goals that Zlatan did in obviously less playing time, that would be good enough for us. Because like I say, we're not looking to Alcacer to say, go and be our star man. Maybe in the future, but right now when he's adapting to our style, when he's still developing his game, we'll be happy with sort of 10, 12 goals a season, because that could be the difference between us winning a trophy, getting to a final. You never know what those goals can do. And certainly if you can start getting on the score sheet more regularly, that would be massive, massive for us. But what I want to say as well, guys, is I said earlier on, you know, he hasn't scored in his 10 appearances so far for Barca, but don't always be guided by those stats, because if you actually look at it in more detail, he's actually, in his 7 La Liga appearances for Barca so far, he's only started 2 games. 5 of those appearances, 5 out of those 7, have been from the bench. And he's made 2 appearances in the Champions League, and he's made 1 appearance in the Copa del Rey. So if you put all his appearances together and have a look at his minutes, he's actually only averaging 38 minutes in every one of those appearances. So in those 10 games, he's only averaging 38 minutes on the pitch. So when you say he hasn't scored for 10 games, they've not been 10 games where he's been on the pitch for the 90 minutes and he still isn't able to score. He's not actually played that much. He's not actually been given that much of an opportunity to score his goals. Of course, by now, we still all expect him to have scored. There's no doubt about that. And Alcacer himself, that's another good thing about him. He's not really strutting around the pitch like he deserves to score. He's not feeling sorry for himself. He looks out there like a broken man at the moment, but he's still trying. He's still trying to get in those positions. He assisted on his goal last night. He got his first assist as a Barca player. I was happy with that respect. And he's still working hard. You know, he's not had a lot of touches. He's not had a lot of shots, but I think he will get there. He's a very, very determined player. He's saying in interviews that he's calm, that he believes that he can succeed here. And I really do hope that he can, because I've quite taken to Paco. I think he's a good guy. I've seen him for Spain. I've seen him for Valencia. And he can be a very good striker. He's different to what we've seen in the past. We've not really had a striker like this for quite a long time. But I think he can be somebody who's certainly coming off the bench. And like I say, when Suarez isn't available, he could well step in and be the difference when we need those key goals. We just need that one goal from him to get off the mark, get off and running, and give him some confidence. I just hope that people get behind him. You saw in the stadium against Mönchengladbach, the fans were quite patient with him, and you could actually tell whenever he got the ball, there was a little bit of nervousness there about the crowd, in Paco Alcacer himself as well, but they were willing the ball in. Everybody wants him to get off the mark, everybody wants him to succeed and get that first goal to help his career, and the sooner it comes, the better, because I think he could be a very, very important player for us in terms of our squad depth, in terms of coming off the bench and making an impact in games which are a bit tight, and he may even give us the option at some point to possibly go with two up front with Suarez and Alcacer together. It would be very, very interesting to see what those two could produce as a partnership, but let's just see what he can do. I'm sure we might see him at some point in the weekend against Osasuna if we're ahead, if Suarez can get amongst the goals and seal the game. That would be great if we're able to bring him on in to get a goal, but other than that, his chances have been a little bit limited so far. We're going to see more of him as well when we got the return leg against Hercules in the Copa del Rey as well. So just leave your thoughts down below, guys, on Paco Alcacer in general. But what do you think about his performances so far? What do you think about his style of play? And most importantly, in the long term, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Do you think that he could be a success at Barca once he gets that first goal and once the confidence starts to burn inside him again and he becomes that clinical, natural striker that we know that he can be? So leave your thoughts down below, guys. Thanks, as always, for all of your comments and all of your support. I'm back on Facebook now as well, guys. I suggested this video earlier on. Thanks again for those who gave me ideas and stuff, what to do. So if you don't know of my page, it's in the description down below, along with my Twitter account as well. So any questions, any ideas you may have, always feel free to send them through, and they will always be much appreciated. I will see you very, very soon, but until then, as always, until next time, Vesca, el Barça.